Hello, I am Eddie O'Sullivan, and this is This Week in the Italian Campaign. In This Week in the Italian Campaign, brought to you by the Freedom for Italy Network. Episode 73, the liberation of Bologna, the crossing of the River Po, and the North Italian uprising on the 25th of April 1945. By the start of the 20th of April, Allied armies were poised to complete the destruction of Axis forces in northern Italy. In the 8th Army, 5 Corps had broken through the Argenta Gap. The 78th and the 56th Divisions were driving north towards the Po River, and that morning, the 6th Armoured Division was over the Po Morto di Primaro waterway. In 13 Corps, the 10th Indian Division was preparing to outflank Budrio from the east, and the New Zealanders had a bridgehead over the Idice River. Rudforce in 2 Polish Corps was near the outskirts of Bologna by nightfall and preparing to pinch out 10 Corps on its left. In the 5th Army, the 92nd Division was close to La Spezia on the Ligurian coast. The 1st Armoured Division in 4 Corps had pushed up the Samoggia Valley and was on the outskirts of Bazzano, 2 miles east of the Panaro River. The 10th Mountain Division had reached Highway 9 west of Bologna, while the 1st Brazilian Division was advancing to its left. In 2 Corps, the 6th South African Armoured Division was just outside Casalecchio by darkness that day. The 88th Division captured Monte Capra. The 91st Division crossed the Reno 2 miles north of Budrio and was in the Casalecchio suburb of Bologna. The 34th Division and the Legnano Group were advancing to Bologna through the mountains from the southeast. Axis forces now faced annihilation south of the Po. Supreme Commander in Italy Heinrich von Wichtenhoff ordered a general withdrawal from the Bologna area that evening. Early on the 21st of April, the 9th Battalion in the 3rd Brigade of the 3rd Carpathian Rifle Division in Rudforce entered Bologna to be wildly greeted by the people of the city. The Legnano Group, the 34th Division, and the 91st Division also entered Bologna. The 1st Brazilian Infantry Division took Zorca. A 4-Corps task force captured the intact bridge across the Panaro River at Po Morto. The 85th Division secured the Samoggia River for 4.5 miles northeast from Ponte Samoggia. By darkness, the South Africans held a line over the Samoggia to within 2.5 miles of San Giovanni, which the 88th Division cleared after advancing from Reale across Highway 9. The 91st Division moved through the western side of Bologna and advanced to a mile north of its airport. The 88th Division was advancing in column towards Decima. On the 8th Army front, the 78th Division advanced from San Nicolo and that night attacked to capture bridges over the Po di Volano at Corna and Catesena. The 6th Armoured Division advanced along the left bank of the Reno River towards Bazzano and was on Highway 62 near Gallo. The 56th Division headed to the northeast. On the morning of the 22nd of April, a task force in the 10th Mountain Division led by Brigadier Robinson Duff crossed the Panaro at Po Morto and advanced north. It arrived at San Benedetto on the Po River at 6 o'clock in the evening. The 85th Division advanced overnight and reached Camposanto at dawn on the 22nd. The bridge over the Panaro had been mined for demolition, but it was captured intact. The South Africans arrived at Camposanto around midday and helped clear the town. Instead of crossing there, it was ordered to follow the Panaro to the northeast to make contact with the 6th Armoured Division in 8th Army, which was racing towards Bologna. The 88th Division reached the Panaro east of Camposanto in the afternoon. The 91st Division, which had set off from Bologna Airport, arrived at the south bank of the Panaro at midnight. Infantry crossed on footbridges between Finale and Camposanto, while armour and trucks crossed at Camposanto. Along the Ligurian coast by the 22nd, the 92nd Division had seized all but the Aula stronghold on the old Gothic line. The Germans started to withdraw, and the chase towards Genoa began. In the 1st Armoured Division on the 23rd of April, Combat Command B crossed the Panaro south of Castelfranco. It then drove to the Secchia River. At 4:30 that morning, Combat Command A reached Guastalla and Luzzara on the Po. The 34th Division, now attached to 4 Corps, moved to Modena. It then attacked along Highway 9 towards Reggio Emilia. The 85th Division reached the Po at Quingentole. In the 10th Mountain Division, the 87th Mountain Infantry assault across the Po started around midday. It had a bridgehead by the evening. The 85th Mountain Infantry was over by 6 in the evening, and the 86th Mountain Infantry crossed during the night. The 88th Division reached the Po north of Carbonara at 8 o'clock that night and fanned out along the river bank to gather thousands of German stragglers. On the 8th Army front that morning, the 6th Armoured Division dashed across the plain to Bologna and made contact with South Africa's 11th Armoured Brigade 2 miles east of Finale to link up the 5th and 8th Armies. In the 78th Division, 11 Brigade forced a crossing over the Po di Volano waterway 18 miles south of the Po River itself and created a bridgehead for a bridge to be built. The 8th Indian Division came up between the 6th Armoured and the 78th Division and headed for the Po. The 78th Division faced the 76th Panzer Corps, comprising the crack 26th Panzer and 29th Panzer Grenadier Divisions, which had been given the task of covering the withdrawal of other Axis forces over the Po. Its own line of withdrawal were ferry crossings in the area of Policella, east of Ferrara. In the early hours of the 24th of April, the 78th Division advanced out of its bridgehead north of the Po di Volano. There was intense fighting which went on into the night. By 9 o'clock, German messages were intercepted, ordering each man to fend for himself and get across the Po any way they could. Some tried to swim. The 1st Battalion of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders in 36th Brigade entered Ferrara and were met by partisans. To the right, the Italian Cremona group captured Ariana. On the Ligurian coast, 92nd Division was ordered to launch a rapid drive to Genoa. In 4 Corps, 168 Infantry in the 34th Division and 756 Tank Battalion captured Parma. The 10th Mountain Division set off from its Po River bridgehead for Verona, 60 miles to the north. Its target was the city's Villafranca airport, which was to be secured before it could be destroyed. In II Corps, the 12th Motorized Brigade of the South African Division completed crossing the Panaro. By late afternoon, it was on the Po at Follonica. The 85th Division started crossing the Po at Quincenpole using rafts and assault boats behind a mortar smoke barrage and a 15-minute artillery bombardment. The river defences were unmanned. The bridgehead was secured without firing a shot. The 88th Division crossed at Ostiglia using a ruined railway bridge under heavy fire. By dawn on the 25th of April, resistance south of the Po had been extinguished. Commander of 76th Panzer Corps, General Graf von Schwerin, surrendered with his personal staff that morning. On being asked where his corps was, he is said to have replied, "You will find it south of the River Po." During the day, infantry in the New Zealand Division crossed the Po and were followed by tanks to continue the pursuit. Later, advanced elements of the 56th Division and the 8th Indian Division got over the river and headed north. Work started on building bridges for heavy transport over the Po. The Idice River was the next significant barrier and the last one before the Alps and the southern gateway to the Third Reich. Early that morning in IV Corps, the 85th Mountain Infantry Regiment in the 10th Mountain Division captured Villafranca Airport after a 9-hour overnight march of 20 miles. In II Corps, the 85th, the 88th and the 91st Divisions were advancing north. The South Africans started crossing the Po near Follonica using amphibious craft, rafts and barges. On the Ligurian coast, La Spezia was captured by the 92nd Division. On the 26th of April in IV Corps, the 10th Mountain Division blocked off routes to the Brenner Pass between Lake Garda and Verona. That morning, the 85th Division advanced to Verona to attack the energy line in hills north of the city and found it already occupied by the 88th Division and celebrating liberation. The 91st Division was moving towards Legnano on the Adige, while the South Africans were heading for the river south of the town. Combat Command A in 1st Armoured Division moved north past Mantua towards Brescia and aimed for Lake Como, north of Milan. In IV Corps that day, the 34th Division and the Brazilian Expeditionary Force had cut across the path of retreat of 148 Grenadier and Italia Bersaglieri divisions. That evening, the 1st Brazilian Division attacked near Collecchio with US tanks in support. The town was captured the next day, forcing the Germans and fascist Italian forces to retreat towards Fornovo for a final stand. In the 8th Army, the 56th Division crossed the Adige River near Rovigo, but it was driven back the next day. The New Zealanders successfully crossed the river at Badia Polesine against light opposition. Elements of the 6th Armoured Division also got over the Adige during the day. The challenges of post-war Europe were emerging. French forces had entered Italy into territory where there was a substantial French-speaking population. On the 26th of April, Mark Clark sent the following message to Jacob Devers, commander of the Allied 6th Army Group. Grateful for assistance given by French forces under your command on Franco-Italian frontier. Consider time has now arrived when further advance by French troops can have no appreciable effect on withdrawal German troops from Franco-Italian front. In view of possible political repercussions, request that French troops be halted on present line and be withdrawn behind the frontier as soon as conditions permit. It would be weeks before the French forces finally did withdraw. A new regime was coming to power in northern Italy. On the 25th of April, the National Liberation Committee for Northern Italy declared a general uprising against Italian fascist rule and German occupation. That day, Milan, to which he had moved from Salzo on Lake Garda with his entire government 7 days earlier, Benito Mussolini and a small group of supporters, including his mistress Claretta Petacci, fled in an effort to cross into the Third Reich, or perhaps neutral Switzerland. Also on the 25th of April 1945, Soviet and American troops met near Torgau on the Elbe River in central Germany. In Berlin, the Red Army was by then less than 8 miles from the Reich Chancellery, where Adolf Hitler, his senior ministers and commanders, and his partner Eva Braun were in an underground bunker. Unlike Mussolini, Hitler refused to flee. The end of the Third Reich was imminent. Well, what a dramatic week in world history. What a dramatic moment in the Italian campaign. What a dramatic moment for Europe. Right on the cusp of the climax of the Second World War, with incredible violence on the West Front and the East Front in the Italian campaign. A really terrible moment for Europe, disaster for the continent, but the end was in sight. So in the next episode, which was effectively going to be the last episode in this series, I will be dealing with the final period, the final events in the Italian campaign, which came to a close, ended in Italy on the 2nd of May 1945. Now, I and my colleagues, we're going to be in Italy at this time. So starting from the 22nd of April, that's Tuesday, we'll be walking to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the war in Italy. And we will be arriving in Rome, in St. Peter's Square, on the 30th of April. We're passing through a number of towns, and everywhere we will go, we will reach out in friendship to celebrate the anniversary of the end of the war, but also really the start of 8 decades of almost unbroken peace in Italy and in Europe, something to celebrate. So watch out for us. We're going to be posting on Twitter. Check out the Monte Cassino Peace Walk. And that starts with the ceremony at the gates of the Abbey of Monte Cassino on Tuesday morning, where we'll have mayors, the deputy abbot, and we're going to have quite a send-off. And we will be walking peacefully, gently through the beautiful Italian countryside, remembering the sacrifices of this extraordinary moment in world history. So if you're in the area, join us. If you're in Rome, join us on the 30th. For the final stage, we will be walking from the Basilica of St. John in Lateran to St. Peter's Square. Anyway, so that's it for now. I will be back next week with effectively the last episode of this week in the Italian campaign. It's been an amazing journey. Started in September 2023, and I followed week by week, chronologically, the experiences, all those involved in the Italian campaign 80 years ago. It's been a journey, it's been an education, it's been very sobering. I'm very pleased that we're at the end of this, because we can look forward to the 80th anniversary of the start of peace in Europe, something to celebrate, something everybody should celebrate. And certainly in the week beginning the 5th of May across the world, there will be commemorations to mark this pivotal moment in our history, something for us to think about. Anyway, that's it. As I said, I'll be back next week. So until next week, from everybody here at This Week in the Italian campaign, it's goodbye, good luck, and may God bless you all.